Morning, everyone. Here is the Maxime Bernier speech on immigration. The sound at the beginning, I think, was messed up, but all of Bernier's speech is intact and sounds pretty good, in my opinion. There were some people who were complaining about it. The only reason I read it out was because I didn't find this. I would have used his speech and highlighted certain other aspects and used my links, but regardless, I did what I did, and here's the actual speech. I'm going to let you hear just the first policy plank he's talking about. Well, you'll hear what he's talking about, and then I'll show you a summer survey from the Liberals. Here we go.
Canadian society cannot successfully integrate 300,000 immigrants and refugees every year, as the Liberals and probably also the Conservatives are planning to do. This is equivalent to adding one Nova Scotia to our population every 3 years, or one Manitoba every 4 years, and packed the majority of them in a few crowded cities like Toronto. Support for immigration will continue to diminish, and social tensions are likely to rise if we continue doing this. We need to slow down. A People's Party government will substantially lower the total number of immigrants and refugees we accept every year from 350,000 a year to between 100 and 150,000.
And there have been a lot of conversation right up until this point when Mr. Bernier announced this number as the policy number, and there you go, that's what it is. He's the only one to announce a number. Everybody else, well, the Liberals have said up in 2021 to 350,000 people a year. But Mr. Bernier is the only one saying a reduction, and this is the reduction. And he backs it up with facts. So it's worth watching, in my opinion. It's worth listening to the speech. And it was a really interesting experience. It was a really neat experience. I enjoyed being in the room. It was fun. So there's the link to the speech. It'll be in the description in the video below. And here we go. Are you ready for a summer check-in for Liberals? Are you? Are you ready? Because this is funny to me because, well, we'll see, okay? We'll see. We'll do the survey together. I said I couldn't get past the first question. It's so biased. The Liberal government has been making real progress for Canadians, including several new steps forward over the past year. Which of the following will have the largest impact on your day-to-day life? Select up to 3. Investing in students and skills training for young Canadians and working to create good middle-class jobs by creating growth in Canada's innovative economy. I actually don't believe that they've done that, but you could choose that. Or increasing the Canadian child benefit, and then again, a whole bunch of flavored language and colorful language to make you think it's really, really great, right? More support for families and strengthening the Canadian pension plan. Strengthening the Canadian pension plan? Seniors can't afford rent and food. Strengthening the Canadian pension plan. How exactly? By taxing the seniors' heating and electricity twice, and then adding a carbon tax on that too. Yay, there we go. Happy retirement. I hope you can afford it. Oh, you can't? Don't worry. Here's extra space that we won't claw back from your CPP that you paid into all of your life. Yeah, you can go back to work and we won't take away the money that you already earned. Thanks, guys. Investing now in better transit, roads, and bridges to get Canadians where they're going faster. Yeah. Have you been on the 401 lately? You had a chance, you had an opportunity, and you didn't use it. You had a chance to spend money in Canada, and you didn't. You spent it across and around the world. Billions of dollars spent around the world. Putting a price on pollution across Canada. Actually, it's a carbon tax and it doesn't reduce emissions. None of these things work for me so far, guys. Launching a new air passenger protection regulations because Canadian travelers deserve stress-free, fair, and consistent treatment when they fly. Have you tried to book an airplane flight across Canada? I could fly to Europe for the same price out of Toronto. If I cross into Buffalo and fly to Las Vegas, I think it's half the price. I think I can get it for $160 or something like that. Return. Now, that could be 2016 prices. I haven't looked in a while. Young kids does that. Moving forward together towards reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and continuing to improve access to clean drinking water, skills training, and supporting Indigenous heritage and culture through Budget 2019. Jody Wilson-Raybould may have something to say about that. Taking action to ensure, and actually that 8-year-old who called Seamus O'Regan a liar when he said nobody wants you to suffer and she said you're a liar, they would have something to say about that. You guys have prioritized this rhetoric over your actual actions, which is kind of funny, except that it's not funny because this is real life. Rhetoric doesn't work when you don't actually do anything. Back to the survey, the terribly biased survey. Taking action to ensure every Canadian has a safe and affordable place to call home with the National Housing Strategy and the first new home buyer incentive. Guys, you have enabled money laundering at an unbelievably high rate, and the real estate market has been inflated by 5% at least, and British Columbia is completely out of reach for anybody working a regular job because of your inaction on money laundering and allowing the Vancouver method to propagate across Canada and not doing anything meaningful to stop it. And now you're saying we're taking action on the housing strategy? Get real. Get real. Creating up to 40,000 new childcare spaces to provide affordable and high-quality early learning and childcare for more families. I have kids in daycare. It costs about the same as my mortgage payment. Developing a digital and data charter and assisting Canadians navigate our digital landscape in a way that restores trust and holds institutions accountable. Yeah, you don't have any credibility at all to do that, but I mean, again, the rhetoric outpaces your actual actions. Moving forward on national pharmacare to help make prescription drugs more affordable and accessible. Right. Well, there's a lot wrong with that plan. So I'm just going to click that because I want to get to the next question. It's just as biased. Here it is. Which of the following steps by Liberal governments are you most likely to discuss this summer in the lead up to the campaign with friends and family? Standing up for Canadian workers and middle class jobs. How do they do that exactly? Putting a price on pollution. Oh, yes, the carbon tax that doesn't reduce emissions. Making the housing market more fair and improving access to affordable housing because every Canadian deserves a safe and affordable place to call home. You haven't done that. You've made rent more expensive by a lot. Investing in infrastructure like better roads, transit, and bridges. Are you talking about in Canada? Or are you talking about in like foreign countries? Because we're part of the Asia Infrastructure Bank. We're building coal plants in China with that money, and we're building roads in Africa for climate change for some strange reason. You're not building Canada. You're not investing in Canadian infrastructure. It's unbelievable. Rhetoric. Legalizing and regulating cannabis to keep it out of the hands of our kids. Oh, Bill C-45 and C-46 are absolute boondoggles. They are absolutely terrible. You've criminalized drinking after getting home, and you've had people challenge this in court. It won't stand up to a charter challenge, and you are putting this forward as good laws. They are bad laws, and what you have done with the marijuana legalization is enshrined a monopoly and basically used the police to enforce the monopoly. Make it legal. Make it like a tomato. I want to go to farmers markets where people are growing marijuana because it's an easy crop to sell. That's what I want. I mean, I can't believe that the legalization of marijuana has come to the corporatization of marijuana, really. It's unbelievable. Back to this. Promoting flexibility with shared parenting through the parental sharing benefit. So new parents, if they choose, can go back to work sooner. Oh, right. They increased the time, but they didn't increase the money. So you can take the same amount you'd get over a year, over 18 months or 24 months, I believe, up to 24 months. Maybe that's a benefit. I think time with your kids is always a good thing. So credit where it's due, I suppose. Taking action with serious common sense gun control measures. No, a gun ban is not common sense and doesn't solve the problem that you said it did. Rewarding Canada's leadership in the world with a path that supports Canadian values and contributes to our shared goal of safer and a more just world. No, you haven't done that. All you've done is negotiate in bad faith with our biggest trading partner while virtue signaling to the world about what's important to Canada. And that is not reflective of what the Canadian citizenship wants. Back to this. Working to support a renewed nation-to-nation relationship with Indigenous peoples based on reconciliation, rights, respect, cooperation, and partnership. You haven't done that. You haven't done that at all. Which of these election readiness initiatives do you feel are most important to strengthen our movement in the lead up to 2019 election? Okay, I'm just going to leave it here. If you want to see the bias, but the bias is there is no way to criticize them. You can't tell them that they're doing something wrong, and that's not okay in a survey like this. That's not how this works. It's terribly biased. Next story. This is interesting. The other day I reported on a reporter named, with his last name Mulrooney, David Mulrooney, I believe, and he said that the Prime Minister's office called, or a representative called him and said, before you speak about China, because the election's coming up and it's very politically fraught, just give us a call and run things by us. And they invoked the Prime Minister's office, saying, that you really should do this. And here's the Power in Politics thread, and I'm going to show you the last video. So here we go. Power in Politics is tweeting, quote, the Prime Minister, the Prime Minister's office, and the Prime Minister and the Minister's office was not involved in this, said at Rob Oliphant, responding to a Globe report that an assistant deputy minister told ex-diplomat that the PMO, Prime Minister's office, wanted them to speak with one voice on China. Quote, someone is lying here. I don't believe it's the journalist. I don't believe that it's Mr. Mulrooney. I don't believe that it's the assistant deputy minister, said at Guy Caron, NDP. All fingers are pointing right now to the Prime Minister's office. And this is the last one. It says, I think after the SNC Lavalin, nobody believes the Prime Minister's office, said Aaron O'Toole. They're going to say, you can't speak up, you can't speak out, and you can't criticize them. Okay, so here's Mr. O'Toole. We'll listen to the whole thing.
Two former ambassadors, not partisan at all, very prominent citizens, who steadily have provided some criticisms, some advice. The government has ignored that advice. They've ignored advice from experts, from the Conservatives for over 7 months. Prime Minister's been failing on China, and everyone knows that. Now they're trying to say you can't speak up, you can't speak out, you can't criticize them, and this whole one voice narrative, they're failing. So,
but how do you know it's not true? How do you know that this individual didn't act? Isn't it possible that they were, invoking the Prime Minister's office without the explicit direction of the Prime Minister's office?
I think after the SNC Lavalin affair, Vashi, nobody believes the Prime Minister's office. Two former ambassadors, not.
And that's a pretty big statement. Nobody believes the Prime Minister's office? Whew. Wow. Wow. And this is the last one I'll leave you with. And I thought it was funny. If we knew this, why don't we fix this? If we know this about our politics, if the Toronto Star is proclaiming this on their Twitter account, if we're aware that dairy lobbies are this powerful, why aren't we fixing it? Well, you can fix it in October, but all of that aside, here's the Toronto Star tweet that I'm talking about. Quote, we know that Scheer owes his leadership to dairy industry lobbyists, telling people to drink milk when the science says not to for political gain. This is the kind of stuff politicians have been able to get away with for years. Not anymore. #opinion. So I think this is, wow. I mean, that raised eyebrows for me. I sent it to a couple of friends and said, the Toronto Star's on Team Bernier? And they pointed out, no, they think that maybe this will encourage people to vote Liberal. And I was like, oh, right. Right. I guess so, right? They followed up, the Toronto Star did, with a Bernier hit piece shortly after, thereby cementing the idea that, no, they're not Team Bernier at all. They were trying to drive people to Liberals, but I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. And, well, the reason that I don't will be clear in the next video, but this is the end of the first video. Go take the rest of that Liberal survey. Yeah, sure. It's not a total waste of time or anything. Okay, thanks for watching. Check out thepeoplespartyofcanada.ca and tune out to the next video to see why I think that, well, these two are the same, really. They're arguing about the same things. It's like, well, they're the same. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day.